And a big name to launch this week's show. I have to start tonight with Emanuel Steward, one of the world's most famous boxing trainers, a man who started out in a dank basement in Detroit. And trust me, Detroit knows a bit about dank basements, okay? He worked with the boys, they were kids then, and he turned them into men, Mao world champions. Tommy Hearns was, of course, his creation and his greatest work of boxing art. He then worked with Nassim Hamid, Lennox Lewis, and he is the main man with David Haye's nemesis, Vladimir Klitschko. He's worked with hundreds, literally, of world champions. He's in London this weekend for a masterclass, but I managed to get him at the San Juan airport in Puerto Rico. He's working with Miguel Cotto before he got on his plane, and I started by asking Manny what he is doing in London on Sunday.
Well, Sunday we're having a clinic, the first of its type that we've did in Europe, which will be really going over teaching the fundamentals of boxing, because we feel that that's the biggest shortage in boxing today, is there's not enough trainers or teachers, so to say. There's a lot of conditioning guys and a lot of nutritionists and weightlifting coaches and PR guys, but very few people actually are teaching the real, true, forgotten art, the basics of boxing. And also we're going to be entertaining a lot of questions related to the business aspects of boxing and really how boxing promotion and the managements and the different aspects of it changes, and it's different. And also doing a lot of Q&A, answering questions related to some of the great fights I've been involved with, behind-the-scenes things that happened.
Now, Manny, where is this in London on Sunday? Do you know? And can people buy and pay on the door?
Yes, it's going to be at the London Hilton, which is what's that, on
Park Lane. Yep.
On Park Lane, yes, on Park Lane. But you can go to Emanuel Steward online and register.
Okay.
And you can even possibly pick your seat and everything else. But it's going to be just an informal get-together for a few hours, too, of just a lot of just talking and showing tricks of how to wrap hands and the proper little things you do to improve punching power, balance, different aspects of boxing, but a lot more than that. The little tricks to winning and losing, and little small things can make major differences.
Some of the forgotten tricks, because sometimes people, or not sometimes, most people forget, Manny, that before you became a superstar trainer, working with obviously Tommy Hearns and then all the big names you've worked with since, you did work with amateurs. You did work with 11 and 12-year-olds when you had a real job back in the day in Detroit, didn't you? You did start at the bottom working with kids.
Well, you know, that's just something that very few people realize. You see a lot of professional trainers today. Very seldom many of them actually had the experience. I started working training Tommy Hearns when he was 55 pounds, and being fortunate to be with him all the way through until he became a 7-time world champion. And also had a lot of fun working with some of your great fighters over there. Dennis Andres.
Of course.
Nassim Hamid, Lennox Lewis. So I have a lot of friends and associates in the UK that I'm looking forward to seeing when I come over there.
Man, did you sometimes miss those days back at the Kronk, you know, where you'd be in the room cooking food for Tommy or cooking food for Michael Mora? You'd have all the guys from the neighbourhood. Do you miss? I mean, you're laughing. You don't often laugh these days. Do you miss those old days, Manny?
Yes, I do. You did your research. In fact, I was just looking at a photograph a few days ago when I had Gerald McClellan fighting John the Beast Mugabe over there. And the picture was
at the Royal Albert Hall,
in my room up, I was cooking. I was up there cooking food for Gerald at the time. And no, I do miss that. But I in between my HBO broadcasts, I've been training with the guys such as, Vladimir Klitschko now.
Of course.
I still spend more time back in the gym with my amateur kids, and that's something that I do. I don't think any of the other professional top trainers do. I love being in the gym with the amateurs, and that's. But we still have a good amateur program, which people don't realize back at the Kronk Gym.
Yeah, I know that. Well, you mentioned Vladimir there. Any chance of Vladimir showing up on Sunday? Maybe putting a bit of pressure on our very own David Haye? Any chance of him showing up?
I know it sounds crazy, but I'd already left the invitation for David to come and for Derek as well. So we're going to do some demonstrations. I'm going to use Derek and David because, all business aside and everything, I really like both of those guys. They're a lot of fun. But I doubt it's Vladimir. I think he's with his girlfriend right now, just traveling around and enjoying things. Hayden Panettiere, because he's going to be starting to train. I think he called me up in about maybe 4 or 5 weeks. We're going to start training for the fight with Derek Chisora that was postponed before.
Yeah, that's the one. That's the one. So you've invited Derek and you've invited David along. That'll be entertaining. You've got
it was, and they show up. In fact, I was speaking to Latimer a few days ago. He said, "I said you got a new friend now, David." Hey, I said, "I always like David. You know, we just have a little fun. You know, shooting the breeze on the internet and stuff. Because that's good to build up the interest in the fights. But you know, outside of that, I've always gotten along with all of the fighters. And in fact, when I trained Oliver McCall to knock Lennox out in the fight right there in London, and I told Lennox in the ring that night, I said, "We won, but you still are the best fighter right there." And shortly after anything, I ended up working with Lennox.
Over the years, do you feel that maybe you've been stretched a bit thin because you're so in demand? You know, fighters from all over the globe want you. Not dissimilar to the situation that Freddie Roach has at the moment, where he has to take fighters from one country and train them in another country because he's working with another fighter. Do you ever feel that you've stretched a bit thin, Manny?
Well, I've felt about that, and I have been that way. And nearly all of my life, I don't know if you realize that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, if you look at History of the Clock, I think it's back, we had, 5 world champions at one time, and a lot of them from different countries. So believe it or not, I'm more effective that way than when I'm just by myself. I'm used to training a group of guys, and that's why we have the concept of the Kronk team.
Hmm.
And right now but we usually have everyone training together. When we have a fight in in Austria with Latimer Klitschko, we would have him, Andy Lee, and all of the other fighters. We all train together in one camp, and it's a good spirit by training that way.
Yeah, seems that way.
For the upcoming fight, we'll probably be training everyone with Miguel Cotto. Based on the weather, we'll be training in Florida. And then right after that, I'll head directly over to Austria for the preparation for Latimer with Derek Chisora. And wherever I go, nearly all of my fighters go with me at the same time. So it's a good camaraderie, good spirit, and the rest of the fighters are all helping coach whoever's sparring or preparing. So that has always worked for me, the team concept. And when I do have to leave to go out on a weekend or something, which may be once every 3 weeks for HBO broadcast or something, everything is organized. I've had very good success doing things that way. And that's because all I do is boxing. If I had another business or another hobby, it would be very difficult. But I'm 24/7 into boxing.
And finally, you've always said that working with the Klitschkos is a bit of working with Vladimir's pleasure. They're good listeners and they're good trainers. Do you think that perhaps that's what's missing, but in American heavyweight circles, because the Klitschkos get on with business, don't they? They train hard and they prepare thoroughly. And over the years, American heavyweights have dropped off a little bit. Do you think that's the flaw, that they maybe don't have the commitment that the European heavyweights have?
Absolutely, and that's why the European fighters are dominating. They have a totally, and I really hate to say that, but the commitment of the European fighters, whether it was some Andy Lee, and believe it or not, when Tyson Fury is training, we're going to say, it's a totally different ethic as compared to the American fighters. And I would say this about Lennox Lewis. Lennox was a very, very good disciplined person. Yeah. They take the boxing as a serious business, and I think, and they have just better work ethics. The American fighters, you're trying to wrap their hands, and they may get about 5 phone calls on their cell phones, and before you even get through, they've got the rap music on, and then they have to stop doing the training session to go into the locker room or go outside and stuff to make a phone call. It's a totally different work ethics that right now the European fighters have over the American fighters, and that's why they are so inferior to the European fighters, mainly because of the work ethics, especially in the heavyweight division. Especially.
Well, you are a heavyweight yourself, Manny, and that's nothing to do with your weight. You'll be in London on Sunday. People can find out more by going to your Manny Steward website, and it's at the Hilton Hotel. Manny, thanks for giving us your time this afternoon.
Okay, Emanuel Steward online. And I've enjoyed being on the show and looking forward to seeing some of you out there so we can do a lot of informal talking and answering questions during the seminar.
That was the legendary Manny Steward talking to me a bit earlier. Now, his event on Sunday is at the Hilton in Park Lane. It does cost, and it costs a few quid. The registration is 10 o'clock. It goes on till about 4 o'clock. But my guess is you get to spend an awful lot of quality time for him. So instead of paying $250 or $300 for a Manny Steward signed glove or a Manny Steward signed Kronk t-shirt, why not fork out about the same sort of money and get personal with him for 5 or 6 hours, because he does tell some great stories. If you want some more information and you want to register, it's easy. You can go to info@EmanuelStewardOnline.com. So it's EmanuelStewardOnline.com, or you can just Google it, Sunday event. You'll find it easy enough. Manny Steward there. Good. We're ticking our way through all the greats and good of boxing that are still living, aren't we? We're knocking them off, so to speak.